to Flourish-Meant, the podcast on living life as you are meant to, so you can flourish.
Welcome, everyone. I have here with me today a very special guest, Christie Jones. She's a sassy Texas author and generational speaker that tells it like it is. Her Try Softer methodology will help us to create goals and new habits with easy-to-use tools. She's here to help encourage you to be your best. Hey, Christie, I am so excited that you're here today.
Hey, Tina, I'm really glad to be here too, and thank you for the invitation.
You're more than welcome. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about optimizing our vision for 2020. It's kind of a fun play on words this year because we get to say 2020 vision. But tell us where we start in developing a vision, because it can seem overwhelming, can't it?
It really can. And for me, what I've done is at the very end of the year, like in December, I begin to plan out what it is that I want to do for the following year. And I've got this group that I meet with, and we do a vision retreat. And we did this in Dallas, Texas, actually just last week. So all of this is very fresh on my mind. And I've done it with this group for 3 years. Some of them have done it even further back than that. But I just wanted to kind of let people know that they can do these type of things in their groups, their realms of influence as well. So anything that I talk about today, I'm going to give you the tools and the resources that we used and what I personally use as well. So anybody can do this. Anybody can become an expert with goal setting because there's so many awesome tools out there.
What would you say to the person that is absolutely stumped? You didn't come up with a word for a year. You didn't do the reflection at the end of last year. You didn't do anything to really set any goals, and you're just kind of lost right now. Is there still a way to find a starting line for your goals for 2020?
Definitely. That just kind of leads us right into this methodology of Try Softer. There's a book that just came out. In fact, it was just launched just on the 7th of this month, and it's on Amazon. The author of that book is Andi Kolber, and it's AUNDIKOLBER, and her book is called Try Softer. And in that book, she just really talks about being easier on yourself. You know, that yes, we have this mentality of wanting to try harder to meet your goals, try harder to do this and do that. Her methodology is be softer on yourself, be kinder on yourself, connect more to yourself and the people around you. Like for me, I set a lot of goals last year. I really hesitated on what word I wanted to use, you know, as my word for the year. And I just kind of made this vision board that just had one word on it, intentional. Intentional was the word. And I didn't go any further than that. Everybody else created these very elaborate vision boards. Mine was plain and simple. It had a checkerboard background and it had the big words intentional in these silver stick-on letters. I kept thinking, gosh, should I have done better than that? But you know what? What my year ended up being is that I needed to keep it simple and I needed to keep it focused, and intentional really did work for me. Having that softer approach and not berating myself for not being somebody else that had created these elaborate words and these scriptures that went along with it, with these vision boards, that sometimes just keep it simple, because sometimes that's exactly what you need.
I like very much that we can start with a no shame zone instead of feeling like we have this tremendous pressure. because there's so much hustle around us right now. There's so much pressure on women, especially, but on men as well, to begin the year with this great explosive drive, like you need to be on a pot of coffee every day to even get going to do those kinds of goals. So we don't have to start there. We can start with something a little bit softer on ourselves. What would be the next place that we need to go to decide where our goals get started?
For me, I wanted to look and see what I did last year. I did a reflection of what things that I did do right, that I felt like I rocked, that I was just amazing with, and build on that. And one of the things too that we do before we go to this vision retreat, you only have to take this strengths assessment just one time, called the Clifton Strength Finder. And it's an assessment tool that you can find on gallup.com. And it's got cost to it too. If you do all 34 of your strengths, it's $49.99. But if you do just the top 5, it's $19.99. And for us, we all have done at least the top 5. Most of us have gone ahead and just done the top 34 because it gives you all the different strengths that is your personal you. And then it gives you a map, kind of like your DNA of talents. And we all go into that to begin with, and then we come together.
You can just start with being softer on yourself and beginning with recognizing what your strengths are. What would be the next thing to do once you know where your strengths are?
Okay, you know what's really cool is that when we were all together, this year there were 7 of us. I knew 4 of the ladies. I had close relationships with 3 of them. One I had met during the summer at an event. And then there was 2 ladies that I'd never met at all. And when we very first began, we kind of just sat around in this living room of this big house. One of the ladies had hosted this at her house. And we got to talking about who we were, just kind of giving just a little bio of who we are and why we were there. And when you get people together like that, there is strength in numbers. We all had a list of everybody's strengths. I knew what my top 5 were, and so did everybody in the room. And in that top 5, which let me go back and kind of give you an idea of what the top 5 are. Like my top 5 is that I'm futuristic. That's number 1. I'm always looking towards the future. That's why goals are very important to me. And the next thing is input. I gather information. I am a research fanatic. I love getting information. I love diving deep into information. The third thing is empathy. I'm a people person. I sense other people's emotions, and I'm really good in ministry in that way. And then my 4th strength is responsibility. I take my responsibilities very seriously, almost to the point it can hinder me. And I'm learning to balance my responsibilities. The last of my top 5 is connectedness. And this is where I love connecting with people. And so when we were in this living room and we were all connecting with each other and with each other's stories, then it was so cool to see the strengths of each person and how you can relate to different strengths, and realizing that that person has that strength that you have. And so you really understand whenever they're talking kind of nerdy, you're like, yes, I love that. Or, there were some of them that were more personable in other areas which are not your strengths, but you realize that that is their strength, and you're just loving, you're seeing that because you've got the list and you know what their strengths are, what their top 5 are, and you see that they are truly flourishing in their top 5. And something that I learned that I've learned each year that we've done this, is that you brainstorm with each other. And just like the power of a horse, they can pull 8,000 pounds. And you put two horses together and they can pull 3 times that amount. They can pull 24,000 pounds. And the point is that whenever you're together, there's strength in numbers. And we began to see how we could interact with each other and brainstorm with each other. And whenever somebody would have a problem with coming up with like what a new habit should be or how they should word it, and how this new habit should go for the year, then we brainstormed with each other and gave each other ideas. And I was like, yes, I love these ideas. And I would just take notes like crazy because I'm a note taker. And same thing with setting goals, that you would see something that somebody would have trouble with and you go, hey, well, what about if you tried this? And it was fabulous because we fed off of each other.
I like that you can start with no shame, you can build on your strengths, and then brainstorm to get some extra horsepower behind you when you're building your goals. Once you've done that brainstorming, how do you distill down to developing your personal vision for 2020?
For me, because I am a futuristic, then that means I'm always looking towards the future. I wanted to look at what would my best year look like if I was going to just have the most fabulous year ever. What would that look like? And so I began to make like bullet points on what that would actually look like. And then it was, who am I at my best? What do I look like whenever I'm at my very best? And then the next question was, what's possible? And I'm very audacious in my thinking. So I shoot for the moon. I shoot for high goals. And the thing that I'm learning and on this try softer method is if I don't hit that exact goal, it's okay. It's okay because I have made progress. I have created momentum. And this particular year, it was tough on me because I started off with a bang. 2019 is what I'm talking about. I had these goals. I had these really high goals. And I finished one of my books and I had it translated into Spanish. And I went to Colombia and launched it at this big women's conference there in Colombia that was through HCL Ministries, and took my daughter with me, my 9-year-old daughter. And she also spoke on adoption because we adopted her whenever she was 17 months old. And I was so proud of all of our accomplishments because I'd overcome so much just in that period from January to July, whenever we went on this big, adventure, whenever I was so dedicated to writing every day and getting everything organized and even preparing my daughter to go and then going on the trip and meeting this team and executing all of this and doing it with so much love and so much joy. And it fed me and it fed Paisley, my daughter, and we bonded and it was just an amazing experience. And then in August, and we were hit with a tragedy in our family. Our oldest daughter, Haley, who has been special needs all of her life, who had multiple anomalies, was just born with this and had 24/7 care. And she lived in a house that was not at our home, but within just minutes away from us. And she had 24 care. And Haley died. She was 33 years old, and she was actually feeling very good and was doing great, and just didn't wake up the next morning. So that was a blindside. From August to December, I really shut down in so many areas because the emotions were just so intense. And even talking about it now, the emotions just kind of rise up because it's still fresh. It's still within the year. And because, that's part of who I am. Empathy is my third strength. So just feeling is I'm very sensitive. So at first, whenever I was on my way down to this vision retreat, because it's a 6-hour drive for me, and I was just going, I didn't accomplish my goals this year. Yeah, I did part of them, but I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish. And it was like I stopped and I took my phone out and I started just writing notes about everything that I had done for the year. And I gave myself permission to be okay with everything that I'd done, and that it was okay that not everything went exactly the way I wanted it to, because life happens. It truly does. And sometimes there are things that just throw you for a loop, like this was. And even though we knew that Haley had outlived her life expectancy, it still came as a blindside. And it still interrupted everything. And it changed the trajectory of everything. So my goals and everything that I'd set, it just got detoured just a little bit. And so I kind of picked up where that left off for this year. And I feel empowered now. I feel stronger, and I feel like emotionally I can dive in now, because I'm doing this in honor of her in a lot of ways, because her story mattered, and everything that we've been through with Haley really matters. And there's a lot of families out there that are dealing with the things now that we have dealt with, and that we do have a lot of answers to a lot of hard situations and hard questions. And because of experiences, we can say we've been there, done that.
I really appreciate your transparency and sharing that family tragedy that interrupted your goals and helped you to recognize that this is important for a lot of people who have set goals and had things interrupt what they thought was their plan for their year. And oftentimes our accomplishments aren't what we think they are. They aren't, our success may not be based on what we believe it will be based on at the beginning of our year. So I really believe that this is an important part of vision casting, is recognizing that I may write my goals in pencil, but I need to allow God to have the eraser.
Exactly.
Sometimes our life doesn't go the way we planned it, but God is never taken by surprise, and He's with us in those times when things don't go not the way we planned, but also not anywhere near what we wanted. And when there's tragedy, it's very derailing to our lives. And it's important that we can give ourselves permission to take time away from the things we thought we were important, to take care of ourselves, and to kind of be there for our families as well, as much as we can during that time of grief. So I appreciate you sharing that, because this happens more often than we can possibly imagine. And those who are trying to set goals may be struggling with the same thing. That may be why they're having a hard time setting goals, because they're reluctant to look forward. They've just been wounded. And I believe that it's not a coincidence that this is your topic and you have this experience. So thank you, Christie, for being so honest with the audience about coming from a place of pain and still moving forward. That's a remarkable resilience that you are showing. What would you say to those who are out there that might be listening that have felt reluctant to set goals because they're risk averse? Now, you say that you're very audacious in your goal setting, but not everybody has that personality. And whether it's due to previous tragedy or trauma, or maybe just a personality style, there might be people listening who are reluctant to set goals because they're afraid of failure. What would you say to that person?
That was one of my hangups, is that I felt like that part of me stopped because of fear of failure and also fear of success. Because whenever I started looking at, if if I keep going, then my world is going to change. Do I really want my world to change that much? And that's something that I really wrestled with. And I talked to my vision group about this. And you know what? That is so common. Every single lady there felt the same way in their own way about fear of failure because, fear is what paralyzes us. And then fear of success, that of change. We enjoy our comfort zones. Oh, how we enjoy our comfort zones. But you know what? Growth is whenever you step out into the unknown and you have faith. And the thing that I'm focused on right now is that I'm going to just focus on looking up, and talking to Jesus every day about, what is it that you want me to do? These are the goals that I've set. These are the habits that I want to change this year. But you know what? You can interrupt it at any time because you showed me last year that you were fully capable of doing that and that I'm going to survive and I'm going to be just fine with it and that I'm going to grow from whatever experience that you place in front of me. And that gives you permission to keep moving forward and to do it afraid because sometimes it's the adventure of it. And like I said, whenever you step out of your comfort zone, my gosh, that's where the growth is. That's whenever you experience life to the fullest till it's overflowing. And isn't that what the word says to do?
What about people who lack motivation to keep going? How do they overcome that?
One thing that one of the ladies talked about this week was doing things in 5-minute increments. And at first I was like, are you kidding me? I was just like, no way, 5 minutes. One of my problem areas is my closet. My husband and I share a closet, and he says that my stuff sneaks over to his side. And I'll be honest, everything just kind of gets stuck into my closet, and it is overflowing because I'm neat and tidy everywhere else, but my closet, not so much. And so it is overwhelming to me. And that is one area that I was having a lot of problems with dealing with because every time I'd open up that closet, I'd be like, oh, that's just too overwhelming. That's just too big. And she said, well, do it in 5-minute increments. I'm like, 5 minutes? It's going to take me a week to work on that closet. And plus the mess that it's going to create. And she said, just try it. So I did the other day. I set a timer for 5 minutes and I went in there and I just started with a bag and I just started putting things in a bag that I knew I didn't want to use and that I knew that I had no problem letting go of and that I could give to somebody else. And the timer went off and I was like, wait, I still want to do a little bit more. So I just hit the reset button and I did 5 more minutes. And then after 5 minutes, I was like, I'm done. That's enough because it was starting to look messy to me. And so I stopped. 5-minute increments, you can do anything in 5-minute increments. It's like eating an elephant. You can eat the whole elephant one bite at a time. You don't have to gulp it all down.
So for those who lack motivation, just get yourself to do a little bit. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and that can apply to exercise or any goal that you might have, even writing or beginning a new business or any of those kinds of big audacious goals that you have. Everything has to be done in little steps. So that's a great tip to apply to that issue. What are some other main issues that we need to overcome with goal setting and being able to stick to our goals and stay focused?
Some type of accountability tool. One thing that I started out doing is Fitness Pal. It's an app. And instead of saying, I'm going to lose so much weight or I'm going to do such and such diet, I decided that what I was going to focus in on was just being accountable for what I eat and what I drink. Because one of my habits that I really did list is that I want to be a healthy drinker, meaning drinking a whole lot of water and less Coke Zeros and just drinking very healthily, no sugary stuff and not a whole lot of caffeine. So I started documenting everything in MyFitnessPal, which it's an app and I have it on my phone. And that was the goal that I put down on one of my habits is that I was going to every day write down in which, actually you're typing it in, but I was going to put down everything that I eat and everything that I'm drinking. And you know what? In that process, I'm feeling much better, as far as more energetic because I'm drinking better and I'm eating better because I'm just simply using that tool. That's my accountability.
That sounds like a great tool to use. What are some last minute things that you want to make sure all the listeners out there understand about having a way of setting your 2020 vision that optimizes their lives?
Look at the different areas that you're wanting to work on. The program that we used had to do with Michael Hyatt's Your Best Year Ever. And in that video series, he breaks it down into 9 different areas. And in those 9 areas, it's broken down into like intellectual, which is learning. And the second one is emotional, which is the same thing as like your mental well-being or your emotional well-being. And these are areas that you want to set goals or new habits in. And it's just kind of to make you a list of things. And the third one was physical, which is your health. What do you want to change with your health? The fourth one was spiritual. That's what is your mission? What is something you want to do? Do you want to read the Bible through in a year? Do you want to go on a huge mission trip? Or do you want to write a book or do a podcast or whatever your goals are? And then marital, that's another area. And it can be, if you're not married, it can be, just do you want to have a love interest? The sixth one was parental, family. What are your family goals? The seventh one was social. Do you want to pick a specific day of the week and maybe always have a lunch date with somebody that day? Just begin to connect with other people, have more socialization, more face-to-face socialization, because there's definitely more than enough social media out there on the computer or on your phone, but face to face, voice to voice, eye to eye. And then the eighth area that he listed is your finances, and also it could be your vocation. Where do you want to go in your job or where do you want to go with your finances? Last is your avocation, is how he listed it. But that's also your hobbies. What adventures do you want to do? Do you want to do family trips? Do you want to start planning for a family trip? And that is one of them that I wanted for our family, because when we lost our daughter Haley, I noticed a huge crack in our family, in our immediate family with my husband and my other 2 daughters, is that in how we dealt with the loss of our daughter and their sister, and that there was some messy stuff that came up. And so I wanted to work more on strengthening our family foundation. So one of my goals was to create family dinners once a week, because one of my middle daughter is 24, so she's in college. She lives like 30 minutes away, and I want her to come home at least once a week and have dinner with us so we can all connect and so we can be there for each other and even talk about our emotions and talk about what we've gone through. And then a family trip. Because of Haley's health needs, we weren't able to make a lot of family trips over the years because we couldn't get very far because she was very fragile, medically fragile. And our whole lives could change in a phone call, and we'd have to be at the emergency room or at the hospital and nothing flat, and she'd have to have emergency surgery, things like that. That happened more than once, but many, many times actually. And so we needed to do something, create vacations, times where we were together. And this Christmas, instead of giving gifts, we made it all about experiences. And so that was something that we did, was we had a family Christmas vacation. Instead of the Griswold Christmas vacation, we had the Jones Christmas vacation. And there was a lot of funny moments. There was a lot of fun moments. And there was a lot of learning to get along moments too. I would just really suggest that everybody just take a look at their own family lives. Do they want to get out of debt? $4,000 worth of debt or something like that. Set it up in incremental steps so that you know how you're going to do this, and make it attainable. I mean, you want to make your first step at least to be attainable. For me, for the vacation thing, the family vacation, it was saying that I wanted to put aside a certain amount of money out of every paycheck into a travel fund. And my trigger to remember to do that is that every time we make our tithe, which we call that our first fruit, and that's the very first thing we do, is send that electronically. And so I decided that that's what I wanted to do as my second step, is because, God first, family second, then everything else third. And so my family matters to me. So I thought, we'll, pay the tithe. And then the next step would be to set up an account that is our travel funds, and just start putting money into that so that we can do, already have our money set aside for those little travel trips that we want to do.
That sounds like great examples. And I think it's important to remember that we don't have to do all of those areas of our life or all of them at once. Just choose the areas where you could improve, and you could set goals according to how you feel led. Again, this is definitely a try softer method, and I love that. Thank you for coming on today, Christie. I know that people are going to want to hear more from you. Where can they stay connected with you and keep following you and all the amazing things that you're involved with, the ministries that you do, and the writing that you have to offer?
Well, I have a website, and it's vesselofnobleuse.com, and it's vessel as in VESSEL of OF, noble, NOBLE, use, USE.com. And also I'm on Facebook, Christie Jones, and on Instagram, and it's under mine and my husband's name together, all one word, all lowercase, Larry and Christie Jones. And my name is Christie, and it's spelled Christ with an IE.
Thanks so much for coming on today, Christie. This has been an amazing wealth of information that you've offered today, and I hope that all of you listening will connect with Christie and her ministries. And if you need a speaker, she's absolutely a wonderful speaker to choose as well. And I hope that you all come back for the next episode of Flourish-Meant.